It's Thursday, June 28th, 2012, a day that will live in infamy, a horrible day for our republic. I'm Alex Jones, and this is INFOWARS Nightly News.
Tonight, the Supreme Court betrays the Republic and upholds Obamacare. Then, the mainstream media blacks out shocking revelations of a possible false flag event during the London Olympics. Plus, Joe Gilbert, the writer and director of Dreams of My Real Father, talks with Alex Jones about the controversial book and documentary film exposing Obama's true origin and hidden past. Also, why we don't need vaccines with Dr. Joe Wallach. That's up next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
When I was in the office this morning and we got the horrible news that the private Federal Reserve was instituting their tax via health care and would have the IRS enforce this takeover, John Bound, one of our producers and researchers, said, you watch, they are going to now sacrifice Holder, at least on the surface, as a distraction from this. Boom, they had the vote today to slap Holder on the wrist for the contempt of Congress. Now, I looked up the statutes. They refer it to the Attorney General, but you can't do that because he's the guy that's in contempt. Or they refer it to the attorney for the District of Columbia, who is also a globalist minion, and they can serve a year in jail. They've got fines as well. The statute hasn't been changed since the 1890s, or the 1790s, excuse me. So the biggest fine's only $1,000. So there's not much punishment for the guy who helped run guns into Mexico and drugs back into the U.S. to blame the Second Amendment. By the way, that was even the Washington Post now, that Wayne LaPierre of the NRA is talking about the drug dealing angle of this. So it is really scaring the system that this information is coming out. But the House has held Mr. Holder in contempt. He was the Deputy Attorney General back during Oklahoma City, which they used to demonize the Second Amendment and a lot more. But he is still just a minion in the final equation. But that news is nonetheless very, very important. We are going to be talking to Dr. Joel Wallach about the healthcare ruling. We're also going to be talking to the filmmaker who has conclusively, in my view, documented the providence of Obama and who his daddy really is. So that is coming up tonight. But first, here in the teleprompter free transmission, I covered this for 3 painful hours on the radio today because it's just another signpost of tyranny. Government-run health care. I had said that I believe they were going to rule for it because it's what the insurance companies wrote. It's what they wanted. They're owned by the big banks. It's not even really socialist health care, and that's bad enough. It's eugenicist, globalist, death panel health care. And they know exactly what they're doing. But people said, oh, no, in the arguments a few months ago, the Supreme Court said they were going to rule against it. So I said, okay, well, that's a good sign for our country. But we had one of the Republican-appointed justices go over to make it the 5-4 ruling for it. And on this day, upheld the individual health insurance mandate that is the heart of the President Obama's landmark health care law. In fact, out of 5 issues being looked at, they upheld 4. And again, it was in the Wall Street Journal. They had the head of the healthcare and insurance banker consortium in there. I remember last year they were saying, oh, yeah, we wrote this. We think it's great. And we saw in the news today, in fact, we have some of those articles from Investment Watch, also Barron's, stocks exploded for healthcare companies and insurance companies because it makes 35 million people buy insurance, and it allows the government and these boards staffed by HMO and insurance company people to say your doctor can't give you a treatment. So this is not a big boon for the doctors or even hospitals in many extents. It is the insurance companies who make you buy their product, already up by 25%. They're talking about 50% increase the next 2 years. Make you buy their product, but wait, it gets worse. It gets a lot worse. The IRS, as was in the bill, has already hired 7,500 extra people. They're going to hire another 10,000. And I'm already getting calls, and we're vetting this. They're already, months ago, because they knew where the ruling was going, taking money out of people's accounts who don't have insurance. The IRS is, out of your bank accounts, digitally. They already have this capability to quote, go towards Medicaid and Medicare because they say you're not buying it. And Rubio talked about this a long time ago, but now it is actually happening. The Supreme Court upholds Obama's health care law. And now since health care is socialized, oh, well, the government's going to control what you eat. I mean, they're saying this because, after all, you're costing us all money now. So there's the nightmare social engineering aspect to all of this. So Obama is very, very proud of it. The Washington Post is very, very proud of it. It's all a giant joke to them that they've rammed this through. And you've got all these useful idiots, the same folks that said, oh, praise God, Obama's been elected. I'm going to get a free car, free house. You didn't get jack squat, but a globalist engineered Agenda 21 depression. Rubio argued that millions of Americans will face being out of compliance with the IRS for not having health insurance coverage. Well, he didn't argue that. I love how they make it partisan. It's in the legislation that the IRS is going to come after you, and it's already happening. Okay, let's continue here. Obamacare, it's about enriching banksters and Wall Street. And Kurt Nimmo at INFOWARS.com goes through all of the admissions by the lobbyist, all of them. He has links to it where they admit they would make giant profits off of this. And this is Kurt Nimmo back in 2010. 2 years ago, broke down what it would do with all the links as the fat cats bragged. And again, it's already gone up 25% since the law was put in, not even implemented. They're talking about 50% increase. Oh, and by the way, pull up the Associated Press, guys. It doesn't cover pre-existing conditions for children. But I saw Obama in his press conference saying that today. Total screw job. Lets the insurance companies cut back on the care, set up death panels to ration care, and make you buy it. Have you researched the unbelievable garbage going on with the national healthcare system, NHS in England and other places? Paul Watson, thank God, could go to an herbalist and get healed. 1 month, couldn't get to see a doctor. When he finally got in, massive taxes in England. He pays for this. They gave him a packet of aspirins and stuff and said, go home. Still couldn't get well. Couldn't go see a private doctor. You got to get bureaucrat permission for that. Was able to get well on herbs and things. This is what we're talking about, folks. Tom Daschle, who helped write it with Mitt Romney, said, you're 65, you don't get eye surgery. Yeah, there's National Review running the Associated Press, if you scroll down, via AP. Obamacare does not cover pre-existing conditions in children. Here's the Natural News article, also posted at InfoWars.com. 10 years of Obamacare would cost $1.76 trillion for more than originally claimed. So there's also, it's meant to bankrupt us. That's the plan. Okay, shifting gears now into the staged terror of 7/7 and 9/11. We have a report here. Whistleblower reveals plan to evacuate London during Olympics. 200,000 casket linings on standby, says undercover journalist who infiltrated security team. And I've talked to Tony Gosling at Bilderberg.org, great investigative journalist. I've talked to others. This guy is a well-known investigative journalist in England. He's produced TV shows nationally. We're not going to obviously say who he is. He went in, and they didn't even want him to pass a test. The dumber, the better. He put him in, and they're massing foreign troops. They're saying this big event is coming right when it ends. Then I thought about how the Munich games in one day in September, they have Michael Douglas voicing it, and it's Academy Award winning. I saw it when it came out in the late 90s. German intelligence staged the terror attacks and hired the Muslims and had front men who thought they were actually fighting for Islam or whatever as the front people, and they staged hijackings. And I mean, this is like at the end of the main film, One Day in September. In fact, pull that up so folks can see that. I saw it over at the Arbor Cinema when it came out. I didn't even know about False Flag. I was just getting politically, awakened things. In fact, I said 99. I think it was came out like 97. I don't remember. Point is, I was just 99. Okay, I was right. Original memory was correct. Again, we use the computers to check my electrochemical system, but to make sure it's accurate. But I was accurate, 99. And I'm looking at this, and at the end of the movie, oh God, Muslims are horrible. By the way, the government staged it. We got to pull clips of this sometimes. I mean, look at it. Out of 10 stars, it's got 7.9. That's rare to get 7.9. I mean, it's a very well done documentary, but they spent like a minute at the end of it to admit the whole thing was staged. So this fits in, folks. Whistleblower reveals plans to evacuate London during Olympics. 200,000 casket linings on standby, says undercover journalist who infiltrated security team. And he tried to bring this before he brought it to us. He's got it on one radio show, Tony Gosling's in England, that's on mainline broadcast radio. He tried to bring it to the mainstream dominant press. They said, we already know about this. We've been told there is a blackout. And that's the new article out on today. Here are 4 clips from the live radio interview we did today on my syndicated radio show that airs 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern at INFOWARS.com. Here it is.
Oh, well, I was approached in one of my classes and by a student, and he offered to sell me marijuana in the classroom. This is a student training to be an Olympic security officer. Later on, one of the training officers who was actually training us saw him doing it to someone else, and he turned to him and said, "Here, mate, can you do that outside? Wait till the break." He actually said that. He didn't kick him out. He didn't phone the police. He didn't do anything. He just said, "You wait for a bit later so you can do that in a break." I think it's absolutely ridiculous. They're putting in a level of security that is inadequate. I'm telling you that now. I was at the training facility a couple of weeks ago, and people didn't know how to search a bag. You know, they were standing there, and it was like a little test. I was standing next to one of the trainers, and the guy was going through, trying to search a bag, and he was just basically staring at it, you know, touching it with his hands. And the trainer said, "It's all right, mate. I know what you mean." And I laughed, and I looked at him and said, "I'm glad you did. Can you explain it to me?" What was he doing? And the trainer just said to me, "Move on. Don't ask." As a G4S security officer, I'm going to be involved in apparently the evacuation of London, or a possible evacuation of London. That's exactly what they've told us. They actually spent quite a lot of time talking about the evacuation of London and this defining moment in the history of London, more so really than they told us about how to search someone and actually the mechanics of, you know, being a security officer. They were very keen on getting this information into us, that after the Olympics we would be involved in something. Now, they weren't going to say what it was, obviously, because you're going to need to know, but we were going to be involved in this evacuation of London. And a friend of mine said to me, he says, "Well, how would you evacuate London?"